all of the projects on my website will have a very strong sense of color. One thing I can tell you from my experience is that sameness is a symptom of speed, isn't it? Still trust my design voice completely. Recommend doing this, but I have done that. And it has drastically changed the outcome, I'll tell you, because
let me begin with a thought. We often talk about spaces in terms of how it looks, but over time we realize that the most meaningful spaces are more about how they feel and how they support the people who live and work within them. And my guest today understands that deeply. I have with me today architect Shweta, who's principal at Studio Meraki, an international award-winning architectural, interior and furniture design firm. Shweta's work is quite thoughtful and rooted in sustainability. In fact, she has also worked as sustainable design consultant in Singapore, where she also pursued her master's from the National University of Singapore. Thank you, Shweta, for being here with us on Essentia Homes podcast series.
thank you so much, Deepika, for having me and for that lovely introduction. And we are here at the amazing, exquisite Essentia store, as you can all see. Thank you so much for hosting us as well. Thank you, Deepika.
So let's begin with from where it all started. The word meraki itself translates to doing something with soul. I know it sounds poetic, but in practice, I'm sure it asks for discipline and making difficult choices. So tell me, Shweta, have you ever experienced a moment when design stopped being just a profession for you and became your second nature? I mean, something you responded to naturally.
Well, yes, Meraki. I was very sure that you would, ask me this question. I often get asked about why I named my studio as Studio
Right.
Meraki, and my tryst with this word was a few years back, and the word Meraki is a Greek word that actually means to do something with a lot of soul and creativity, and it
Right.
always had that that rich aroma, that aroma of freshness, and something very fresh and nice about it. So I always knew that whenever I start my design venture, it would be somewhere centered around this word. But yes, of course, it is very mystical and very romantic, very poetic, and when you cut down to starting a design business and a design journey, the reality is extremely cutthroat and very different. We are in a very hardcore construction business, whether it's architecture or interiors. And eventually, you need to strike a balance somewhere, somehow. We build within a lot of constraints, and that is what is the beauty of it. But at the same time, we cannot get dispassionate. We need to be more passionate about our work, and that is where I always look at the word Meraki and get reminded of what I started as and what is my destination that I want to be at. And talking about design being second nature, yes, of course. I mean, being here, say 20 years now, it has become second nature. In fact, I would say it just you grow a second skin, but then, as frivolous or whimsical, it might sound at times, because we designers have always a tendency to, say that whenever we're given with a design problem, we come somehow we will say that, okay, I think I feel like we should do yellow here, or say, I feel like this texture is going to look good here. And people think that we're just saying something which is just very whimsical, as I already said, or very frivolous.
Right.
But, I'll tell you one thing, that what you call as instinct
Yeah.
is actually a residue of years and years of practicing conscious restraint. So it is trained judgment. And it is years and years of cerebral work that has gone into it. So we have trained ourselves, as you said very well in your question as well, that it requires a lot of training, discipline, and difficult choices.
Interesting. So tell me, is there something about your journey that never made to headlines but has shaped you deeply as an architect and a designer?
Well, yes. I always say that, the best parts about my architectural practice are actually subtractive. the ones that rarely photograph well, because
Oh,
what you see in the social media, the press features, the awards, all that glory and celebration, victory is there, but
right.
all that is very additive in nature. But in reality, what never makes it to any feature will always be things that are more, how do I say, that when did I and how did I start learning to
Mhm.
say a no?
Okay.
The path that I did not take, or say the door that I did not open,
Right.
which I knew that there was a very lucrative, or say a very profitable opportunity behind it.
Mhm.
And I think the additive parts are always very meritorious and often talked about, but it is these parts of my journey
Mhm.
uh, that is, again, we talk about restraint. So this is the deal breaker for sure.
So tell me, have there been moments when you consciously pulled back emotionally from a project?
Oh yes, a lot of times. I think I am actually thinking of a lot of examples that you, as you asking me this
Yeah.
now. Um, I have not, I have learned and learned along the way.
Uh-huh.
Because one thing I can tell you from my experience is that emotional closeness, or say proximity,
Right.
will always blur your judgment,
Mhm.
and distance will always sharpen it.
Right.
So, pulling emotionally, taking decisions with a balanced state of mind is extremely important. Even though I would not recommend doing this, but I have done that. And it has drastically changed the outcome, I'll tell you, because I think, as I said earlier, emotions kind of blur your way of thinking,
Right.
and your rationalized mind, it does not work at its full optimum efficiency. I can tell you that.
Okay. So do you believe a studio's philosophy evolves with the founder's life stages?
For sure, because my personal and professional
Uh-huh.
life is obviously going in tandem with each other.
Right.
And the way I'm growing and evolving as a person
Mm-hmm.
is obviously influencing the way I'm making decisions in my studio at the design table. And we all go through a lot of journeys and ups and downs and emotional upheavals.
Right.
And one thing that I have learned is that, in times of distress, or say when you're going through a tragedy or a personal loss,
Right.
you tend to be more emotionally driven even when you reach the studio.
Exactly.
And I have learned how to not do it and be more aware of it,
Okay.
because when I am not in my best state of mind emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the decisions that I'm taking when I go to my studio can be a little more emotionally driven, which I don't think is correct. So eventually you learn to draw a balance. But if you ask me how I have, what recent changes that I've seen in myself, which have transferred into transforming my studio as well, I would say that um, I've learned to be more selective
Okay.
and less available. Not
Right.
trying to sound arrogant or snobbish, but I think earlier I was interested in expression,
Okay.
and now I'm more interested in precision. So that
Interesting. Yeah.
is the fundamental difference.
So now I'm curious to know, I mean, how much of your design decision making today is instinct and how much is deeply rational?
Well, there's a saying that instinct proposes and
Right.
logic confirms.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So instinct is somewhere, um, kind of a compressed intelligence, but
Mhm.
logic is rationality, which gives you verification. So there are, I'll give you a very small example. When I came here, you complimented me on my dress and you said you really liked the red. Okay. So that
Right.
is a very instinctive response. But if I tell you that, we're sitting in this beautiful Essentia store and let's paint some of the things red here, would you do that? No, because that defies logic.
Right.
So we need to, when we're building or we're doing an interiors project, we work within a framework of clients, budgets, statutory timelines, rules and regulations, codes. uh, there are a number of things.
True.
So we cannot always just be very, um, just think about something very intuitively and just go ahead and practically execute it. It needs
Right.
to conform to certain criteria. It needs to be extremely rational. It needs to work at its optimum efficiency,
Right.
for all stakeholders in the project.
Shweta, you work closely with people's personal spaces. What do clients unintentionally reveal about themselves during their design conversations?
Well, they reveal a lot of things they're not supposed to also, I think. Yeah, when you're working on any project, the
Mm-hmm.
clients, their family, their friends of friends, all of them become a part of your immediate circle and they are a part of your life for the next, say, a minimum of 1.5 to 2 years. And clients unintentionally, I mean, I'll tell you something which I have kind of observed with time, that apart from you knowing everything about their personal lives, their domestic discords and everything,
Right.
something that I've learned as a human in human psychology, that each one of us is just trying very hard to not reveal something
Right.
that we are very anxious to protect.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of things the clients might not directly tell you because they might be the tipping points of their personality, which they
Right.
do not want to intentionally reveal.
Mm-hmm.
But they're putting all that more effort to push it down and not come out with it. And that is what you need to catch, because I think understanding client psychology is the most important
Is
thing.
important, correct. So tell me, over time, have you learned to read silences more carefully than words in client meetings?
Yes, of course,
Yeah.
because I don't know why silence is underrated or say even considered as a
Mm-hmm.
weakness in, why is it proposed to be like that? Because silence means that, something very important is being negotiated internally.
Right.
And I think that is the one that you need to read, understand, comprehend when you need to design something for your client. Because a lot of clients are not able to express themselves very vocally all the time.
Right.
And they might have a lot of things to say, which out of hesitation or anything, they might not. And you have to be very smart to be able to read the
Read.
silences.
Exactly. So now tell me, according to you, good design is more about what you add or what you hold back?
I think I spoke about restraint
Yeah.
just a while back also. Of course, holding back is more, um, it's tougher because it requires confidence.
Right.
And I mean, just remembering an example, I if you see my projects, I
Mm-hmm.
use a lot of color in my projects.
Okay.
Uh, all of the projects on my website will have a very strong sense of color. You will hardly find any gray, beige, white projects in my portfolio.
Okay.
And because I do read a lot of color psychology and I have a different way of designing,
Wow. Okay.
um, but then that makes me more vulnerable to overdoing it, right? So I have to apply a lot of conscious restraint in my projects because
Right.
there's a thin line that I'm working on. So I
Correct.
always find restraint or holding back very, very, very tough. Much harder than keep on adding, because we live in an era of a lot of noise. So
Right.
it's
I
very
agree. Yeah.
easy to keep on adding things.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to hold back, that is,
Is difficult.
it again depends on what you're trying to build. I mean, are you trying to run a business? Are you trying to build a brand? Are you trying to build a legacy? What is your ultimate destination?
Right. So, do you think Indian design is still seeking validation, or are we finally becoming comfortable with our own voice?
Well, I certainly don't think that Indian designers need any validation anymore in terms
Okay.
of, I mean, you go to any design festivals. I mean, 10 years back, I think we did not have that sort of a global presence. But you go to Milan, you go to Venice, you go to any design week,
Right.
there is such a strong Indian footprint there.
Right.
And even our Indian homegrown brands,
Mm-hmm.
we have such a rich cultural heritage and craftsmanship that nobody can really stop us. But then, there is one thing that I still think that we need to focus more on, since um, I think we need to focus more on depth than novelty.
Right.
Because I recently went to an exhibition. I think a lot of designers were having this conversation between them that, we've been to Italy, we've been almost everywhere, and we've not seen something that we've not seen on Instagram, or something that's truly
Right.
unique. So
Right.
every client, every designer is looking for uniqueness. But then in search of that uniqueness, you cannot leave behind depth and emotion in your work, in your pieces, in your furniture, anything like that.
So now tell me, what concerns you more in today's design ecosystem? Is it sameness or speed?
Speed.
Yeah. And why do you say that?
Because sameness is a symptom of speed, isn't it?
Right. In a
So
way, yeah.
speed removes reflection, as simple as that. And again, I'm not trying to sound very philosophical here and very theoretical here, because all of us are moving within timelines. And
Right.
I mean, of course, we have strict timelines for everything, and we need to move within those timelines. And it's
Right.
extremely important to be efficient. But I think committing to unreasonable deadlines and spoiling your work, like someone just came to me last week to do a restaurant in 2 days.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's not possible for my studio to like non-stop 48 hours of pulling up something from the internet and make a presentation in
Right.
24 hours, 48 hours, but that's not what I want. I mean, as I said, speed removes reflection. As simple as
That's
that.
that. Yeah. So, what would you stop doing tomorrow if you trusted your design voice completely?
I still trust my design voice completely. I would like to respond to that by saying that I think I would stop listening to noise.
Okay, that's cool. So, Shweta, sustainability is central to both your work and Essentia Home's philosophy. How do you balance sustainability with comfort and aesthetics in your residential design projects?
Well, in today's world, if someone thinks that sustainability and luxury and comfort are two separate pieces of the puzzle,
Right.
that's not true anymore. I mean, we are sitting right now here in 2026. And, when we talk about sustainability, it is not really a choice that we have now. We have to design sustainable homes
Right.
because we are living in an era of a complete climate catastrophe. And to use materials that are green and eco-friendly and sustainable, or maybe to design our homes in a way that they are not energy guzzlers,
Right.
is the trademark of luxury now. Um, and I'm sure Essentia is at the forefront of this, because now luxury does not mean doing expensive marble floors or shiny lighting
Exactly.
or reflective materials. Luxury is wellness.
Right.
So when you talk about sustainability, you want to use materials that have a better indoor air quality,
Correct. Yeah.
that takes care of the human's needs in terms of health.
Right.
So that is what luxury is. And as I said, uh, even earlier as well, that even my studio's philosophy as well as Essentia's philosophy, all of us are driving to join this movement of sustainability, and I'm sure we'll get there soon.
With that, we close the conversation. Thank you, Shweta, for
Thank you
not
so
just sharing
much.
your learnings, but also thinking and unlearning behind it. Thank you.
Thank you.